Chapter 81, Retaliation is Inevitable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Logically, Nuwa should be behind this, but everything points to someone else as the source. It's even starting to mess with the whole lich situation. The thought hit Hongjun like a punch in the gut. This can't screw up my plans, but who's pulling the strings? Besides Nuwa, who could even make this happen? Suddenly, a name popped into Hongjun's head, Lu Feng. Hongjun had always brushed off Nuwa's apprentice as insignificant, but this time, Lu Feng had earned his respect, to be able to hold his own against me with just Daluo Jingxian cultivation. That's not something just anyone can do. These two, master and disciple, are proving to be a real handful. Guess I need to pick up the pace. A cold glint flashed in Hongjun's eyes. Palace, Nuwa beamed as she looked at Lu Feng and Xuandu. Lu Feng, you did great this time. Not a bad pickup as a disciple. Even though Xuandu was in rough shape when Nuwa found him, she could see the character he possessed. Someone like that has a bright future ahead of him. He's just a little golden fairy now, but give it 1,000 or 10,000 years. The sky's the limit, Lu Feng chuckled. Hey, I'm just following your example. After all, a top-notch teacher like you deserves a top-notch student. With that, Lu Feng pulled out the innate spiritual root from his pocket and handed it to Xiandu. I don't have any use for these anymore, so you can use them to cultivate. Xuandu's eyes lit up at the sight of the spiritual root. Thank you, teacher. I'll train even harder. Nuwa couldn't help but smile. Her apprentice might be a goofball, but his student was a hard worker. Alright, you head back to your cave. I want to talk to your teacher. Xuandu nodded and immediately took off. Once Xuandu was gone, Nuwa turned to Lu Feng. You know, this stunt you pulled this time was pretty wild. But you're so calm about it now. What are you scheming? Lu Feng shook his head innocently. Me? Scheming? Never. Teacher, you wound me. I'm not up to anything. Didn't I just come back to Palace with you? Nuwa just rolled her eyes. The more he denies it, the more suspicious it sounds. Lu Feng finally cracked under her gaze. Okay, teacher, we might have won a big victory, but don't forget about Uncle Fushi. Nuwa froze. She hadn't even thought about that, but now that she thought about it, Lu Feng was right. Fushi's different. He's only at the peak of quasi-sage cultivation, and he's still with the demon clan. He's going to need a solid plan to escape the demon clan and claim his heavenly Saint Dao fruit, and if it's her brother. It'll be even harder. Now that he's left the demon clan, Fushi definitely won't want to stay with them. Just breaking away from the demon clan is going to take some careful planning. Nuwa looked at Lu Feng. So, what do you think we should do to get him out? Lu Feng shook his head. Getting Master out of the demon clan is the easy part. The hard part is convincing Master he wants to leave. Nuwa immediately understood. You think my brother might not want to leave the demon clan? If that's the case, Nuwa knew they were in for a battle, and her brother was stubborn. Even if they dragged him out kicking and screaming, he'd probably just run right back. But Nuwa couldn't stand by and watch Fushi get caught in the crossfire between the two clans. She sighed. I guess I'll head to Buzhou Mountain and talk to him. Lu Feng already knew how that conversation would go, but he kept his mouth shut. Some people just have to learn the hard way. Knowing that Hongjun wouldn't just let this go, Lu Feng quickly shoved Zhu Tianqingyun into Nuwa's arms. You should hold on to this. I think we've scared some people pretty badly. Nuwa knew exactly what Lu Feng was implying, but she gave him a worried look. What about you? Lu Feng grinned. I've got 36 Dinghai divine pearls. Even a saint can't touch me. That put Nuwa's mind at ease. She looked at Zhu Tianqingyun in her arms, a warm feeling spreading through her. Man, did I luck out with this disciple. But Nuwa was still worried about Lu Feng's safety. You're probably on Hongjun's radar now. Maybe you should stay out of Emperor Hua's world for a while. Hongjun was not someone to be trifled with, and she would retaliate at all costs. Lu Feng had destroyed both of his bodies, and I am afraid that I am now lying on Hongjun's little book of revenge. Lu Feng knew he'd made an enemy of Hongjun. Of course, he'd added Hongjun to his list a long time ago. Still, he didn't turn down Nuwa's concern. Thanks for the heads up, teacher. I'm going back to my cave. With that, Lu Feng bolted. Nuwa couldn't help but smile. He's still the same old Lu Feng. Lu Feng returned to his cave, his eyes shining. The best thing he got was the innate spiritual root enlightenment tree that Tong Tian gave him. This thing was better than any innate spiritual root. If you plant it in your own practice cave, within a certain range, the speed of practice will be greatly accelerated, and the speed of enlightenment will also be much faster. The leaves of the sacred tree of enlightenment can even be used to make tea, which can even enhance people's ability to enlighten. Lu Feng had never seen anything like it before, so of course he'd treasure it. The second was the 6 pure bamboos that Zhundi gave himself. This thing is one of the 10 great innate spiritual roots, and has always been a common magic weapon for Zhundi. Now that it has fallen into his hands, of course Lu Feng must give it a good try. So he directly refined all these treasures in this round. Chapter 82 New Talents and Magical Powers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half a year had flown by since that refining process. When Lu Feng opened his eyes, the sacred tree of enlightenment and the 6 pure bamboos were officially his. He still had 6 months' worth of sign-ins to catch up on. Resigned to his task, Lu Feng settled back into his recliner and started making his reports, one by one. Whoa, the human race really got hammered in that war. Good thing the teacher was powerful enough to cut off the monster race connection directly. And removing his own heavenly Dao fruit. Total power move. I gotta admit, I was small-minded. Actually tried to plot against him, a Daoyuo Jinxian, from behind. Turns out I was outmatched. Got smacked down hard. Yuanshi is gonna hold a grudge for sure. He'll probably try to get back at the teacher down the line. I need to level up so I can avenge this. Wonder if the Sanqing family has split up yet. Should be any day now. Honestly, Tong Tian has no business hanging with petty villains like me and Yuanshi. He's in a completely different league. But hey, I totally refined the Enlightenment sacred tree and the 6 pure bamboos during this retreat. Major win. After rattling off a bunch of reports, Lu Feng smacked his lips, a little dazed. Even after half a year, Lu Feng still thought back to that throwdown with his teacher and thought, man, that was awesome. Just as he was debating whether he should get out for a while, that familiar system notification popped into his head. Congratulations. Achievement unlocked, 6,000 consecutive days of sign-in. Reward, Ultimate Innate Spiritual Root, the Chaos Dream Rose, and the Invincible Realm Talent. Lu Feng was floored. The next thing he knew, a vibrant, purple flower materialized in his hand. Staring at it, the flower's info downloaded into his brain. Chaos Dream Rose, top-tier innate spiritual root. Instantly boosts the user's cultivation level with 0 side effects. Then he checked out his new talent, Invincible Realm. Activating this talent grants 5 seconds of invincibility and immunity to all magical attacks. Lu Feng was speechless. Holy cow, the system's going all out this time, that it had just handed him a totally OP power. Does this mean I just got a free, get out of jail, card, that even if it only lasts for 5 seconds, that's an eternity for most powerhouses? He wondered how strong an attack this power could actually block. If it could even stand up to a saint, Lu Feng could swagger around the wilderness without a care in the world. He could even stand up to Honghuang if he came knocking. The thought made Lu Feng burst out laughing. Happiness had to be shared, so Lu Feng set his sights on his trusty road plate. What better way to celebrate than a daily report? And he still hadn't finished his sign-in for the day. Lu Feng jumped right back into reporting. You guys won't believe my luck today. I just unlocked a new innate magical power. Even with these new magical powers, he still had to put in the work to raise his cultivation level, so Lu Feng got back to his secluded cultivation. Meanwhile, back at the demon court, they had finally worked out a plan for dealing with Fuxi. For Dijuan and Tai, the past 6 months were a mere blink. They'd spent the time cleaning up the demon clan's messes. Now they could finally focus on Fuxi. As Nuwa's older brother, Fuxi was a deduction whiz. Almost nothing in the prehistoric world escaped his notice. He might not have been a saint, but his deduction skills were up there with the best of them. If they had to deal with Fuxi, they needed to hear him out. After thinking it over, Dijun left Tai to run the demon court. He took Kunpeng and headed for Mount Buzhou. Up on Buzhou Mountain, Fushi sat on the peak, quietly sipping tea. After a while, his brow furrowed, and he looked out into the void. The next second, two figures touched down in front of him. Di Jun bowed to Fushi. "Long time no see, Emperor Shi. How have you been?" Fushi smiled. "Did the demon emperor come about my little sister's situation?" Di Jun didn't deny it. "And what are your thoughts, Emperor Shi?" Fushi chuckled softly. "Since my little sister has left the demon clan, that's that. But I'm still Emperor Shi of the demon clan, and that hasn't changed." Di Jun felt relieved, like he'd just been given the all-clear, but Kunpeng, who was standing next to the emperor, chimed in. "Empress Nuwa is a saint after all. If she rejoined our demon clan, and the human and demon clans reconciled, maybe we could reclaim our former glory." Fushi shot Kunpeng a cold glare. "You want me to lobby my little sister?" Kunpeng didn't seem the least bit embarrassed. "I was just wondering if Emperor Shi would be willing." Fushi didn't answer. Kunpeng was starting to get confused. Di Jun cut to the chase. "Would Emperor Shi consider persuading Saint Nuwa on our behalf? If Saint Nuwa returned to the demon clan, the fate of the human and demon clans would be tied to her, which would benefit her in the long run." Fushi was already getting a little ticked. He was always up for doing something that would help his little sister, but he was silent for a long time before speaking. "I can't promise anything, but I'll mention it to my little sister. Just know that if it doesn't work, I hope you won't resort to your usual tricks with her." Hearing the threat in Fushi's voice, Di Jun and Kunpeng exchanged glances and laughed. "Of course not. Empress Nuwa is a saint now. We couldn't possibly plot against her." But deep down, they both knew how much their words were worth. Fushi just snorted. He wouldn't put it past these two. As long as they remembered that, he was good. Di Jun and Kunpeng didn't linger on Buzhou Mountain. After all, Buzhou Mountain was technically Wu clan territory. They usually tried to avoid running into the Wu clan at all costs. Those Wu tribe barbarians would throw down at the drop of a hat. If they got spotted, it would be another mess. Chapter 83: The Destruction of Jiejiao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At that moment, inside the witch temple, the 12 ancestral witches were gathered. The witch clan hadn't been this happy since the demon clan's defeat last time. Despite his joy, Jiejiao glanced at Ho Tuesday. "Little sister, you used to be close to Saint Nuwa. Do you still keep in touch?" Ho Tu nodded, then shook her head. "When Nuwa lived in Buzhou Mountain, we often discussed Taoism. But after she became Emperor Hua of the demon clan, we naturally drifted apart. Later, while searching for opportunities, I met her disciple by chance, and he just gave me a thumbs up." Jiejiao and the others were surprised. Ho Tu had never mentioned this before. And Lu Feng was just a Daoyuo golden immortal, right? How could he guide someone who was nearly a saint? But remembering how Lu Feng jumped into the fray when they arrived on the battlefield, Jiejiao decided he kind of liked the kid. Now that Nuwa had left the demon clan, Jiejiao, in a rare moment of diplomacy, wanted his sister to reconnect with the saint. "Little sister, since Nuwa's no longer with the demons and you're on good terms, why don't we align the witch clan with the human clan? It would improve our chances against the demons in the future, right?" Ho Tu's eyes lit up. "Brother, that's a great plan. I'll go now." Meanwhile, in Honghuang Tian, Lu Feng emerged from a seclusion of almost 2 weeks. The magical power gift was great, but he'd already figured it out and didn't want to keep studying it. Seclusion just wasn't his thing. He had the technique and could practice anytime, so why push it? Better to come out and plant flowers. As soon as Lu Feng came out, he made up for his daily reports. Then his system prompt started chiming again. Most of the rewards were spiritual root elixirs, which Lu Feng had no use for. He simply gave them all to his apprentices. They were on the golden elixir path, and these spiritual roots were needed for making medicine. As for the elixirs, he could study those more carefully. Lu Feng, relieved, poured all his sign-in rewards to Xuandu, who accepted them with a smile. His teacher was as good to him as ever. Giving him so many cultivation resources was simply amazing. They all resolved to practice harder, to live up to Lu Feng's expectations. Lu Feng had no idea how much his casual gesture impacted his students. He just wanted to plant flowers, bask in the sun, and take it easy. If Nuwa were to re-enlighten Honghuang, she should be in seclusion. But Nuwa had started taking a page out of Lu Feng's book. Especially when she couldn't be sure if Lu Feng was actually practicing, she was even less interested in seclusion. Sure enough, she looked up one day and saw Lu Feng lounging on a deck chair, sunbathing, and she couldn't help but laugh angrily. That brat! She knew better than to expect him to practice for thousands of years. He couldn't even manage a year. Nuwa became curious about what he'd been up to lately. Since she couldn't keep an eye on him all the time, she took out the Dao Pan. Before settling down, she made sure she was comfortable on the recliner and hit play. Soon, Lu Feng's voice filled the hall. Teacher is the goddess of my dreams, she's so awesome. Speaking of which, my lotus flowers have been blooming like crazy. How do I eat lotus pods? The pond feels incomplete. Maybe I should throw in a couple of carp next time. After all, it's the Sanqing divine water. The first thing I say every morning is, when will Hongjun kick the bucket? Listening to Lu Feng's inner thoughts, Nuwa couldn't help but find it amusing. She had no idea what went through that kid's head. People probably hated him so much they could spit, but he acted like it was no big deal. Nuwa suddenly paused. No, Lu Feng wasn't a tolerant person. If he was wronged, he'd definitely get revenge. She kept listening to his reports. Soon, she got to his entries from the past few days. Thinking about how happy Yuanshi and I are living makes me a little unhappy. Whenever I feel unhappy, I want to make other people unhappy. How can I mess with them? Hearing this, Nuwa finally burst out laughing. She knew he wasn't a tolerant person. He was just thinking about how to make people miserable. But what shocked her even more was that Lu Feng had broken through again, thanks to the divine tree of enlightenment given by Tongtian. He'd planted the tree in the cave after refining it, hoping for the best. To his surprise, he'd actually reached the middle stage of Daoyuo Golden Immortal. With that strength, Lu Feng could hold his own in the prehistoric times. And his actual strength was even greater than what his realm suggested. In other words, only reckless fools would try to provoke him. Nuwa couldn't resist getting involved. When she'd first picked up Lu Feng, he hadn't even transformed yet. She'd enlightened him, he'd become human, and then struggled to advance past the true immortal realm. But just then, Lu Feng had suddenly discovered another path. In just 6,000 years, he'd reached the late stage of the Luo Jingxian. This was no easy feat, but Lu Feng had done it. Her student was remarkably talented. Just when Nuwa was considering whether to enter seclusion, Lu Feng's thoughts suddenly rang out. Recently, the Lich are fighting. Trying to fix the first emperor is out of the question. So, I'll just wait for the gods to fight it out. When Changjiao and Jiejiao clash, I'll be able to mess with things, he. For some reason, Nuwa felt her heart beat faster, a hint of disbelief in her eyes. Chapter 84 Looking for Opportunities. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Feng had predicted the downfall of the saints' orthodoxy, but Nuwa hadn't given it much thought. Now, hearing Lu Feng bring it up again, she wondered if it might actually happen. The Sanqing sects were already splitting, with Yuanshi and Tongtian constantly at each other's throats, barely on speaking terms. Considering how close the Sanqing once were, the Pangu Orthodox Sanqing, who no one dared to cross, their current state was definitely drawing attention. Nuwa hadn't wanted to get involved, but hearing Lu Feng hint at a future life-or-death struggle between the Chan and Jia sects, she started to believe there might be something to it. It wasn't her place to interfere yet. However, that didn't mean she couldn't interfere. As they say, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. If Tongtian was going to be at odds with Yuanshi, why not offer a little help from the human sect? Nuwa felt a sense of relief at the thought. Lu Feng said it wasn't time yet, so they'd play it by ear. Lu Feng, ever the ambitious guy, wasted no time getting down to business anyway. She figured she could take a hands-off approach and just wait for Lu Feng's instructions, unaware that Nuwa was pinning her hopes on him. Lu Feng was busy jotting in his diary. Soon receiving another reward, he started to toss it into his backpack, but something felt off. Wait a minute, this isn't a pill. Lu Feng paused, pulling out the item to inspect it. His jaw nearly dropped. 8 Desolations Meteor Saint Formation, a Honghuang Avenue level formation. No saint who enters can escape. Lu Feng couldn't believe the system had been secretly setting him up with a treasure this huge. This formation could straight up kill a saint. It was way more powerful than the All-Heaven Star formation and the 12 Gods and Demons formation. While those were strong, they couldn't stand against a saint, but this thing in Lu Feng's hand could even kill one if need be. Talk about perfect timing. Lu Feng immediately grabbed his Qingji compass. It made deducing secrets easier and, more importantly, shielded him from a saint's prying eyes. Lu Feng activated the compass. Soon, the river of destiny materialized, and Lu Feng's spirit dove into it. After searching, he pinpointed a location. Gotcha. There's always a cause, right? Lu Feng grinned, a calculating glint in his eyes. Meanwhile, completely oblivious, I was back outside Jiejiao Palace, begging for an audience. Seeing Hongjun on his throne, I prostrated myself. Teacher, please show your disciple the way. Despite my quasi-sage cultivation, I was crushed and humiliated by a Deluo Jinxian. I cannot accept this. Please guide me on the path to becoming a saint. Hongjun was getting a headache. The path to this disciple's sainthood lay with the human sect. And becoming a saint among humans meant getting involved with them, which was like cracking an iron safe. Even if he could sneak in, success was far from certain, but he couldn't let this disciple keep kneeling outside the Jiejiao Palace, could he? Hongjun sighed. You have one last chance to become a saint. My eyes lit up, but Hongjun's next words sank my heart. Your chance is still with that organization, and it lies on Shouyang Mountain. There is a cave on Shouyang Mountain which suppresses the destiny of the human race. Finding those places will grant you the blessing of that destiny. Then, like Nuwa, attaining Honghuang Avenue will be easy. Hearing his teacher's words calmed my anxiety. Honghuang Avenue. It was human luck that made Nuwa's re-enlightenment so easy. If I could also get that blessing, maybe I could actually become a saint. Hongjun dismissed me, then thought of Nuwa and her disciple. Those two were tricky to deal with. He needed to handle them before they ruined his plans. He sent a direct message to Nuwa. Nuwa, I will soon enter the human race to find his chance to become a saint. Do not interfere. Nuwa frowned at Hongjun's message. That old fox was always scheming. Constantly trying to steal the luck of the human race. Did he really think of her, the holy mother of the human race, as just a decoration? Since Hongjun said it himself, Nuwa didn't know how to refuse. Just as she was about to call Lu Feng to discuss it, she realized he was gone again. Nuwa was baffled. Why couldn't he just enjoy the sun at the cave entrance? Then it clicked. Lu Feng didn't usually move unless there was a good reason. He must be planning something big. What kind of big something? Nuwa chuckled to herself. The last time Lu Feng pulled something like this, he took Xuandu as his disciple. She wondered what he was up to now, but this time, Nuwa didn't care. As long as she didn't get involved, what her disciple did had nothing to do with her. After all, Hongjun hadn't called out Lu Feng's name, so he wouldn't take action, and besides, how could a teacher possibly keep track of where a disciple was going? Nuwa closed her eyes and let it go. Meanwhile, Lu Feng was secretly dragging Xuandu back to Shouyang Mountain. Teacher, why are we back in the human world? Lu Feng glared at him. We're going after something big. And I have a feeling we're going to hit it big this time. Xuandu rubbed his head, feeling doubtful, but he kept his mouth shut. His teacher held grudges. What if he cut off his training resources? Lu Feng pulled out a compass, not the one he used to deduce secrets, but one for finding opportunities. Chapter 85. The opportunity is gone again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Feng consulted his compass, turning this way and that until he pinpointed a likely spot. He grinned, spotting a deserted patch of woods. Bingo! Xuandu, though, was completely baffled. Huh? What's here? That he could swear all that was waiting for them was a bunch of weeds, nothing valuable at all. but then Lu Feng stowed the compass, made a series of hand seals, and the forest shimmered, transforming from a desolate thicket into a vibrant woodland practically humming with Taoist energy. Lu Feng surveyed the place and nodded approvingly, then, he sent a message to Honghuang. Found the perfect spot to develop the human race. Get them over here ASAP. First come, first served. Naturally, Honghuang, though a bit confused, didn't hesitate. He gathered all the humans and led them toward Lu Feng's coordinates. Lu Feng, meanwhile, got to work setting up a formation, the 8 Desolate Meteor Saints formation. To be exact, he felt zero guilt about it. Just as he finished the formation, the human race arrived, but as he approached Shouyang Mountain, a powerful sonic wave reverberated through the air, filling him with dread. Had he missed out again? No way, right? Could he really be that unlucky? He sped up, eager to see what was going on at the place he was planning to exploit, but when he got there, the cave he had his eye on was completely surrounded by a formation. Undeniably, the human religion's dojo. He was stunned. The human religion. Why is it always the human religion, that he was losing it? Thwarted at every turn, and now this final hope was dashed, completely losing control, he roared toward the dojo. It's you again. You've stolen my chance at sainthood again. I'll kill you. Lu Feng strolled out, casually picking his ear. Seeing Lao Tzu in the sky, he merely raised an eyebrow, unfazed. What's your problem? This is human race territory now. We're just relocating the dojo. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Why are you always so paranoid? Think everyone's out to get you. Tai Ching was practically spitting with rage, each of Lu Feng's words twisting the knife. Lu Feng, it's you again. You're the one who's been ruining everything. Lu Feng threw up his hands. Never intended to do you any favors. You just keep running into bad luck. Besides, I gotta ask, why does Tai Ching, the senior disciple of Xianmen, need to rely on his junior sister's human race to become a saint? Don't you have your own path? Yuanshi and Tong Tian, the other eldest brothers of Pangu, are forging their own ways. Why copy someone else? Tai Ching was incandescent with anger. Lu Feng's words were hitting a nerve, and Lu Feng just stood there, practically begging for a smackdown. Tai Ching wanted nothing more than to teach him a lesson, but he couldn't actually beat him. A peak quasi-sage couldn't take down a Daoyuo golden immortal. It was incredibly frustrating. His plan was to use the human religion's luck to achieve sainthood, then settle the score with Lu Feng. Now the chance was gone, and Lu Feng was just rubbing it in. It was unbearable. Lu Feng, you only stand a chance because of your treasures. Without them, you're nothing compared to a quasi-sage like me. Lu Feng just grinned. And what's wrong with using treasures? You Sanqing are happy to use the treasures you've had for eons. Why is it a problem when I do it? Lu Feng was playing the victim now. Tai Ching was speechless with rage. Lu Feng kept twisting the knife. Look, it's not the end of the world. It's just a saint's seat, right? Maybe it's overrated. Why not follow my teacher's example? If my teacher could attain enlightenment again, why can't you? Provoked beyond endurance, Tai Ching finally snapped, attacking Lu Feng. Which was exactly what Lu Feng was waiting for. I had already stepped into the 8 Desolate Meteor Saints formation. Lu Feng just smirked. Time for the show. Sure enough, the moment Tai Ching entered the formation, he knew something was terribly wrong. This formation was far more terrifying than he'd imagined. And its power had reached the level of the Honghuang Dao. The human religion was using Honghuang Dao level formations. Unbelievable. Tai Ching stared, stunned, as torrents of chaotic energy rushed toward him. He tried to dodge, but the formation was too fast, too relentless. All he could do was watch as the energy tore his newly formed body to shreds. His body destroyed, Tai Ching was furious. But he knew he couldn't linger. His physical form was gone. If he stayed, his soul might be next. He had to escape before things got even worse. Summoning his Tai Chi diagram, he merged his soul with it, broke through the formation, and fled into the distance. Honghuang arrived just in time to see the Tai Chi diagram carrying Tai Ching's soul away, and was understandably surprised. That's Lu Feng shrugged. What can I say? Some people just have brittle bodies. Honghuang was speechless. Was that really the explanation? Brittle body? Tai Qin was a peak quasi-sage. His body was incredibly powerful. In this ancient world, only a saint could break his defenses, yet Lu Feng, not content with just defeating him, had now destroyed his body again. Was he trying to kill him? Chapter 86 Yuanshi's body is broken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just then, a surge of holy power enveloped the entire Shouyang mountain. Yuanshi immediately sensed something was off. Seeing me being dragged by the Tai Chi diagram, anger flared in his eyes. That punk Lu Feng actually dares. This is the third time my body's been destroyed. Yuanshi was beyond mad. Meanwhile, Lu Feng calmly leaned back in his recliner, acting like nothing happened. Xuandu, standing nearby, looked at Lu Feng with concern. Teacher, you've destroyed his body again. What if the other two saints come looking for trouble? Lu Feng simply pointed to the formation above. Then they can try breaking through it first. With the system's formation in place, even a saint entering would be at Lu Feng's mercy. After all, Lu Feng was only being polite. Otherwise, with his quasi-sage peak strength, he could obliterate their souls in a heartbeat. How else would he have had the chance to snatch the Tai Chi diagram? Still, Xuandu felt relying solely on the formation was risky. He looked at Honghuang. Uncle Honghuang, should we ask our master to come? Yuanshi Tianzuan looks pretty ticked off out there. Honghuang, of course, saw Yuanshi's fury. He couldn't withstand a saint's attack in his current state. Calling Nuwa was the smartest move. Little friend Lu Feng, why not invite the Empress? Her presence would give us some peace of mind. Lu Feng gave a scornful smile. You're underestimating my formation. Yuanshi, even at his best, has zero chance of breaking through it. And even if all 10 of them showed up, they wouldn't get out if I didn't want them to. Xuandu and Honghuang gasped at Lu Feng's words. It wasn't so much the surprise, but the arrogance in his tone. If Yuanshi heard that, he'd blow a gasket, especially the lowest class saint comment. Who says stuff like that? As fate would have it, Yuanshi did hear him, and he was, indeed, incandescent with rage. Lu Feng, you've signed your own death warrant. Lu Feng picked at his ear. What did I do wrong? This is human territory. Why did Master Laozi barge in without permission? At least a heads up would have been nice. Our human formations aren't just for show. Hearing Lu Feng's firm words, Yuanshi's face flushed crimson. You dare speak to me like that? Your master goes where he pleases. Do I need to report to a nobody like you? Lu Feng just shrugged, feigning helplessness. If that's how you see it, whatever. I've never seen someone so brazenly try to invade another's territory without so much as a, by your leave. I wonder if the two masters would mind if I popped over to Kunlun Mountains for a casual stroll. Yuanshi was fuming, but he remembered why he was here. He couldn't let Lu Feng bait him into losing his cool. He had to get Shouyang Mountain back, so, Yuanshi took a deep breath and said coldly. Lu Feng, if you know what's good for you, hand over this Shouyang Mountain. Lu Feng couldn't believe Yuanshi's nerve. He was demanding a mountain, and the ancestral land of the human race at that, the audacity. Lu Feng stopped playing nice and lazily slouched back. Sure, Uncle Yuanshi. If you can break this formation, Shouyang Mountain is yours. Hearing Lu Feng's words, a gleam flashed in Yuanshi's eyes. You said it yourself, Lu Feng. Don't blame me for what happens next. With that, Yuanshi charged straight into the formation. As soon as he entered, the scenery around him shifted dramatically. Lu Feng and the others were gone, replaced by desolate nothingness. Feeling the fierce winds of the formation, Yuanshi realized he'd walked into a trap. This wasn't just any formation, it was a Honghuang Avenue-level formation. No wonder Lu Feng could snatch back my physical body so fast. It's all thanks to this damn formation. Yuanshi's mind raced. Just as he was about to break out, a massive dragon burst from the earth. The dragon charged directly at Yuanshi. In an instant, The void around Yuanshi was torn apart. Yuanshi didn't dare underestimate it, channeling his spiritual power to defend himself. At the same time, he summoned his 3 treasure jade rui and frantically tried to escape. Against a Honghuang Dao level formation, even Yuanshi couldn't stand his ground. He could only defend and look for an opening, but Yuanshi searched the void for an exit and found nothing. Just then, the long dragon charged towards his back. Yuanshi had no choice but to block with the 3 treasure jade rui. The two forces collided. In an instant, Yuanshi was blasted back tens of thousands of miles. Realizing he was no match for the formation's power, Yuanshi quickly summoned the Pangu banner. With the Pangu banner as a shield, Yuanshi felt a surge of confidence, but the next second, reality hit him hard. The long dragon tore through the Pangu banner's defense and slammed into Yuanshi. His physical body was instantly obliterated, leaving only his primordial spirit clinging to the Pangu banner. Yuanshi was utterly stunned. Seeing that victory was at hand, Lu Feng manipulated the formation and ejected Yuanshi's spirit. He hadn't expected to kill Yuanshi outright. After all, Yuanshi didn't die that easily. He had a trace of his soul entrusted to the heavenly Tao. Even if his primordial spirit was wiped out here, that sliver of soul could revive him. That's what they call immortality. Chapter 87. You really can't blame me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle had everyone's attention, especially Lao Tzu, who was closest. He'd been counting on his brother to reclaim their cave on Shouyang Mountain, but his brother was taken out by Lu Feng's formation, too. He was stunned. What kind of setup was that could even wreck a saint's body? Hongyun and Xuandu were equally shocked. Seeing Yuanshi's soul ejected, they couldn't hide their surprise. Who would have thought such a basic-looking formation could stop Yuanshi, a freaking saint? Tong Tian, also one of the 3 pure ones, immediately felt his brother's trouble. The destruction of his physical body was already a surprise. Now, seeing Yuanshi's body destroyed as well, Tong Tian couldn't help but feel a jolt of shock. What kind of formation did Lu Feng conjure up that could trash a saint's soul like that? Even if Yuanshi wasn't the strongest, he was still a saint. Lu Feng didn't even show his face, just pushed him back with a formation. Tong Tian even wondered if Lu Feng was holding back, otherwise Yuanshi's entire soul would be toast. I mean, if a formation could wreck a saint's body, wouldn't it be able to do even worse to the soul? It all depended on whether Lu Feng wanted to, but then again, the saint's soul was tied to the heavens. Even if Lu Feng snared Yuanshi's soul, he couldn't really wipe him from existence. Tong Tian figured that Nuwa and her disciple were a real piece of work. Nuwa was rough on herself, Lu Feng was rough on others. Good thing he hadn't gotten on their bad side, or he'd be in real trouble. Thinking about it, Tong Tian felt a little relieved. Meanwhile, up in heaven, Nuwa, in seclusion, looked toward Shouyang Mountain. That was where she'd created humanity, after all, but she hadn't expected Lu Feng's formation to be so heavy-handed. Taking out Lao Tzu's newly crafted body and Yuanshi's body like that. Taking out their bodies was the least of it. Nuwa did some quick calculations, then a tiny smile appeared on her face. That kid really hates to lose. This time Lu Feng's gone to Shouyang Mountain, and messed up his chance. Now, she's probably even further from becoming a saint. Nuwa shook her head, kind of helpless. Oh well, nothing she could do about it, better to keep her head down. Nuwa waved her hand, and Honghuang heaven shut down and went into full seclusion. Even though it was supposed to be a retreat, Nuwa couldn't wait to get her hands on the Great Plate. She'd missed Lu Feng's daily reports lately and had to catch up. Soon, Lu Feng's voice crackled through. Today's a great day. I can just feel someone's about to have a really bad time. Talk is cheap, action speaks louder. Looks like I gotta get to Shouyang Mountain before they do. Gotta cut them off at the pass. They want that cave. I'll set up a human settlement right there and see how they like it. You wanna play dirty? Fine, I can play dirty too. Listening to Lu Feng's report, Nuwa just rolled her eyes. That Lu Feng, still as petty as ever. Just like his master. But through Lu Feng's rant, Nuwa got an idea of how important that cave was to the human race. It must be where their destiny was anchored. Someone wanted that cave to snatch the human race's destiny. The fact that she hadn't completely given up on coveting humanity's destiny made Nuwa a little angry at herself. Luckily, Lu Feng messed up that chance. If the fate of humanity was stolen, Nuwa would be seriously screwed. Thinking about it that way, Nuwa felt a little better, but then Lu Feng's report started up again. Didn't expect that 8 Desolation's Meteor Saint formation to be so awesome. It actually shattered Yuanshi's body. Ha 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 ha, that'll teach them to mess with the human race's destiny. But now Yuanshi and I are at each other's throats. What if Honghuang comes after me? Maybe I should ask the teacher for a little help, or just blame it all on the teacher. He's the strongest anyway. It's not a big deal for him to cover for his disciple, right? Hearing that, Nuwa's face darkened. That brat. Thinking about pinning the blame on him again. And he really thought he could get away with it. But then she remembered he was her only disciple, and he really had dealt with the situation satisfyingly. Thinking about it that way, Nuwa wasn't so mad anymore. She wasn't working this hard to protect her disciples. Meanwhile, Lu Feng was really getting into trash talking. Uncle Yuanshi, this really isn't my fault. Turns out, Uncle Yuanshi, you can't even break this formation, so I guess you can't have Song Yangshan. Hearing that, Yuanshi felt his teeth grind together. Lu Feng, how do you even have a formation like that? That he didn't even have a formation like that on Kunlun Mountain. Lu Feng just smiled mysteriously. Well, on my own, I couldn't have a formation this powerful, but lucky me, I have a great teacher. Hearing Lu Feng say that, Yuanshi lost it. It was Nuwa again. When you think about it, how could a nobody like Lu Feng de Luo Jingxian create such a formation? But Yuanshi definitely didn't have the strength to fight Lu Feng right now, so he just roared. Lu Feng, I'll settle this score with you later. After those words, Yuanshi hauled himself away. Watching Yuanshi and the others streak away, Lu Feng gave a quiet stretch. Nailed it. Chapter 88 is enough. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hongyun and Xuandu exchanged surprised glances. This was resolved too easily, wasn't it? It felt rushed. Yuanshi and the others hadn't been gone long before Lu Feng was back to his usual laid-back routine. Then, moments later, Qianli appeared before him. Lu Feng looked up, a smile spreading across his face. Teacher, what brings you here? Nuwa shot him a playful glare. If I hadn't come, how would I know the messes my favorite disciple's been getting into? Lu Feng suddenly felt a twinge of guilt, but he couldn't resist a cheeky reply. Me? I'm the best behaved disciple around. I wouldn't dream of causing trouble. Nuwa just gave him a long, knowing look. Better not. Hongyun and Xuandu traded another glance and quickly excused themselves. The situation between master and apprentice suggested a private, important discussion was about to take place, and it was clear Nuwa wanted to talk to Lu Feng alone. Best to give them space. Sure enough, as soon as they were gone, Nuwa turned to Lu Feng, a sly smile playing on her lips. For some reason, that look made Lu Feng even more uneasy. When she didn't say anything for a long moment, he finally caved. Teacher, aren't you supposed to be in seclusion? Why send a clone? Nuwa was, in fact, meditating in Emperor was heaven, but she'd had a change of heart and wanted to talk face to face, or at least clone to face. She hadn't expected Lu Feng to see through her disguise so easily. Even Hongyun had missed it. Nuwa playfully pinched his cheek. I'm impressed, disciple. You've got sharp eyes. But why, oh why, would a disciple so skilled in formations try to pass the buck to me? Lu Feng grinned. So that's what this was about. Nuwa was here for help. But why the cheek pinching? It felt like he was a prize-winning duck at a carnival. A shiver ran down his spine, and he gently pushed her hand away. Teacher, what's mine is yours, and vice versa. Isn't that what being master and disciple is all about? Besides, the formation was used in the human education dojo. Anything good that came from it is due to your teachings. I wouldn't be where I am today without you. Nuwa pinched his cheek again, enjoying his smooth talk. His face was surprisingly pinchable. You little rascal, you're getting more silver-tongued every day. Lu Feng knew she wasn't really angry, so he smiled. Teacher, this formation is more good than bad for us. With it in place, even if Dao Ancestor himself comes knocking, he'll have a tough time getting past it. Nuwa nodded, that was what she was thinking. Alright, alright. Enough with the flattery. Looks like I'll have to clean up your mess. She glanced outside the formation, as if on cue, a swirl of purple energy appeared outside the Shoyang Mountain formation, then, Hongjuan's voice boomed, Nuwa. Nuwa shrugged. Here we go. She could fool others with a clone, but not Hongjun. Lu Feng hurried after her as she flew towards the perimeter. Seeing Hongjun, Nuwa at least pretended to show respect and greeted him. Lu Feng followed suit, bowing respectfully. Hongjuan's face was like thunder. Nuwa, didn't I tell you not to interfere with my plans? Nuwa blinked, putting on an innocent act. Daozu, that's just not fair. The moment I heard about the situation, I rushed to Shoyan Mountain. I was planning to hand over the opportunity, but my disciple moved so fast that he made this the dojo for the human race. If the human dojo is moved again, the luck of the human sect will be greatly diminished. And then, Nuwa trailed off dramatically. Lu Feng jumped in, playing his part. It's all my fault. I misunderstood your intentions, teacher, and rashly moved the human race's dojo here. And I'm too weak to fully understand the situation, so I failed to figure out that this was my uncle's chance. Lu Feng made sure every word seemed to condemn him but was calculated to display innocence. Hongjun saw through their act. If Lu Feng didn't know exactly what he was doing, Hongjun would eat his hat. Master and disciple were in on it together. Hongjun was furious. Nuwa, do you have any regard for Xuanmen's feelings? Nuwa's expression turned serious. Daozu, I've always been invested in Xianmen. But opportunities in these ancient times have a mind of their own. This opportunity has fallen to the human race. Surely you're not suggesting you'll take it by force. As the voice of heaven, you wouldn't do something that goes against heaven's will, would you? Hearing her invocation of heaven's will, Hongjun felt his head throb. Then you should give up Shoyang Mountain. This concerns your senior brother. Nuwa shook her head. You know the human race and the human religion are my bottom line. The dojo's been moved. If we give up Shoyang Mountain, where will the human race and the human religion go? Hongjun felt a surge of anger. All this talk, and she still refused to budge. But he knew that she would massacre Di Juntai and others for the sake of the human race. Hongjun felt that the matter was too difficult, but his sanctification was also part of his plan. If I continue to be blocked again and again, what should I do? Thinking of his plan, a coldness appeared in Hongjuan's eyes. Nuwa, you have taken away my opportunities again and again. I'm warning you now. I'm going to enter human territory and get my chance back. And since you let your disciple do this, you have to give up Shoyang Mountain today. Hongjun wasn't talking about that cave, but the entire Shoyang Mountain. Hearing the arrogance in his tone, Nuwa's eyes showed a hint of ridicule. So you've decided that I have to give up all of Shoyang Mountain, even if it means destroying the human race's destiny? Hongjun looked at Nuwa coldly. Whether it's the human cult or Shoyang Mountain, it should be my opportunity and destiny, but now it all falls into your hands. Don't you have it in mind? Nuwa, I advise you to stop. Chapter 89 Rejoining the Demon Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing that, Nuwa just scoffed. The two saints stood face to face, a palpable tension between them. Nuwa's eyes even flashed with a hint of murder. If Hongjun didn't have the backing of the heavenly Tao, she might have attacked him right then and there. And Hongjun, standing opposite her, was certainly aware of Nuwa's intent. His hesitation stemmed from whether he should break with Nuwa completely. If they parted ways now, things might spiral even further out of his control later. The thought of the future darkened Hongjuan's eyes, but if he allowed Nuwa to continue unchecked, there was no guarantee she wouldn't interfere with his plans again. Neither option was appealing. Too many variables were in play. Hongjun craved absolute control over everything. Nuwa held his gaze, awaiting his answer. If Hongjun dared to make a move, she was ready to retaliate instantly. Meanwhile, Lu Feng had quietly retreated to the 8 desolate meteor saints formation. Seeing this, Hongjun glanced at the formation before him. The moment Lu Feng entered it, the formation subtly began to activate. A Hunyuan Avenue level formation posed a significant threat, even to Hongjun. if he actually fought Nuwa here, he'd likely suffer a crushing defeat, not to mention, Hongjuan's gaze settled on Lu Feng. He hadn't forgotten that Lu Feng possessed the 36 Dinghai divine pearls. And the god-killing spear, and the sky-holding coffin was the biggest threat of all. Any action Hongjun took would be fraught with limitations. In the end, Hongjun contained his anger. Nuwa, what is your decision? Nuwa simply smiled. Haven't I made myself clear? In this ancient world, might makes right. Even Panga Jingzong had to endure her defiance for now. Hongjun took a deep breath, saying nothing. This is the last time. If it happens again, whether it's you or Lu Feng, I won't be so lenient. With that, Hongjun vanished. Watching him leave, Nuwa slowly entered the formation. Truthfully, she'd been almost eager for Hongjun to make a move. Unfortunately, he'd held back. Lu Feng quickly stepped forward, grinning. Teacher, you were awesome. Nuwa glared at him, annoyed. You can laugh about this? If it weren't for some dumb luck on our side, the Dao ancestor might have attacked. If I had fought him, you probably would have suffered too. Lu Feng shrugged helplessly. Well, my disciple's strength is lacking, so what could I have done? Nuwa practically saw red. How dare you say that? With your current cultivation as a Daoyuo Golden Immortal, shouldn't you be training like you should? Actually, Lu Feng's current strength was unmatched among the saints. Even as a Daoyuo Golden Immortal, he was a force to be reckoned with, and few dared challenge him in the wild today. But Nuwa couldn't stand Lu Feng's perpetual laziness. Lu Feng naturally had a defense ready. Teacher, you wound me. I dedicate myself to cultivation every day. Nuwa just scoffed. You dedicate yourself to cultivation? Last time I checked you had been out of seclusion for less than half a month, right? Lu Feng fell silent. He hadn't expected his teacher to be so observant, keeping tabs on his cultivation schedule. In reality, Nuwa didn't have time to keep tabs on him. She just picked up on clues from Lu Feng's daily activities. Alright, you've caused me enough trouble over the years. Keep a low profile from now on. Why do I always have to clean up your messes? Lu Feng grinned. Teacher, you're being unfair. When has this disciple ever caused trouble? Nuwa glared at him again. Don't think I don't know. Do I really need to list all the things you've done? Lu Feng's scalp prickled. Teacher, those were just spur-of-the-moment things where the opportunity was just too good to pass up. Nuwa snorted, too tired to argue. Bring me some jars of your spiritual tea. Otherwise, she'd really lose her temper. Lu Feng had an abundance of spiritual tea. The system churned out spiritual roots daily. With nothing else to do, Lu Feng had turned them into spiritual tea. The good-tasting ones he drank himself, and the bad ones he sent to Xuandu, essentially as trash. Nuwa could have as much as she wanted, and Lu Feng wouldn't be stingy. As the master and apprentice were about to leave, a streak of light descended outside the formation. Little sister. Nuwa immediately turned, a hint of surprise in her eyes. Brother. Lu Feng quickly deactivated the formation. Moments later, Fushi arrived. Nuwa happily led Fushi towards the human sect. In the main hall, Nuwa and Fushi sat facing each other. Lu Feng sat on a small stool beside them. He'd been tempted to leave but was curious about who was trying to persuade whom, so he stayed. Nuwa was clearly delighted to see Fushi. Brother, what brings you here today? Just a friendly visit. Hearing Nuwa's question, Lu Feng couldn't help but touch his nose. My naive teacher. Nobody just drops by for a visit. If I wanted to see you, I'd come to Honghuang heaven. I bet they're here to make a deal. But Lu Feng kept his thoughts to himself. He simply took small sips of his tea. Fushi, a straightforward person, didn't overthink things. Upon hearing Nuwa's question, he simply stated his purpose. Actually, I came to talk about the demon clan. I was in seclusion a few days ago, and when I came out, I found that you'd severed your ties with the demon clan. But we're the demon kings of the demon clan. You should rejoin, even if you don't get involved in worldly affairs. Nuwa's smile faded. Brother, since you know I've severed my ties with the demon clan, do you know why? Chapter 90 Dojo Relocation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fushi was taken aback. Why, that he honestly hadn't considered this possibility. He'd just seen Nuwa cut ties with the demon clan, and then Emperor Jun and Tai showed up, trying to sweet-talk her, so, without digging any deeper, Fushi came straight to persuade Nuwa. Hearing her now, a nagging feeling crept into his mind that something was off. Nuwa scoffed. Brother, while you were off in your little world, the demon clan sent an army to slaughter humans, all to make some witch-killing sword. And that's not all. They also teamed up with those Xianmen types to trap me in my own Emperor Wa heaven. I swallowed my pride for the Dao ancestors' sake and let Emperor Jun and Tai go. Now they dare to pull this garbage in front of you, brother. Hearing Nuwa's words, Fushi's first reaction was a mix of shame and fury. His little sister had been through all this while he was clueless. And the demon clan was the one who twisted the knife. The thought that he'd been about to talk his little sister into staying with the monster clan made him want to crawl into a hole. Forget it. You're out of the demon clan now, so just let it go. Nuwa stared at Fushi. Brother, those two, Emperor Jun and Tai, are stubborn and ungrateful. If you were left to their mercy, it wouldn't end well for you. Why don't you leave the demon clan and join our human sect? With you and me working together, wouldn't our lives be way better than they are now? Back in Jiejiao Palace, if it hadn't been for Fushi's help, Nuwa wouldn't have snagged a futon. Now, she wanted to return the favor, but Fushi shook his head. Sis, I appreciate the thought, but I've already committed. This demon clan is where I have a shot at enlightenment. There's no getting out now. Nuwa sighed softly, even though she'd braced herself for it. Hearing Fushi say those words still stung. The chance for enlightenment was tied to the demon clan, a compelling reason she couldn't argue with. If that's how it is, I won't try to stop you. Just know that I'm not going back to the demon clan. Fushi nodded. He always respected his little sister's decisions. He'd come to persuade her because he didn't understand the situation. Now that he knew the full story, he figured she was being awfully forgiving for not blasting the demon clan to smithereens. As soon as Fushi left, Lu Feng ditched the fancy tea for a hot second and scurried back to his cave. Nuwa was in a foul mood, and he didn't want to get chewed out for being a pain in the ass. Back in his cave, Lu Feng immediately started his daily sign-in. That went smoother than I expected. Just like that, I cut off my chance. Wonder if she's gonna blow a gasket. Guess I didn't hit the Saint jackpot this time. Who knows how long I'll have to wait for another shot. Makes me all warm and fuzzy inside. Hongjuan's the tricky part. He's got his eye on me. If I want to stir up trouble down the road, he might come after me. Wish the teacher would establish humanity already. Once that happens, he'll be on equal footing with Hongjun. What could Hongjun do to me then? This ancient world should have had 21 saints, the most powerful of the 3,000 worlds. Too bad a dirtbag like Hongjun only cared about the heavenly Tao and suppressed humanity and earth. That's why this world only has 7 saints. If he hadn't pushed for this calamity and that calamity, Honghuang would probably be strong enough to invade chaos by now. Looks like Uncle Fushi is toast in this witch calamity. If you ask me, he's just being stubborn. If he'd listened to the teacher earlier, he wouldn't be kicking the bucket for nothing. But I guess it's a blessing in disguise. He can only reincarnate as the human emperor if he dies in the Lich calamity. It's the after effects. Lu Feng rambled for what seemed like an eternity, not even realizing he'd blown past the word limit. Just then, the system chime went off. Congratulations to the host for completing today's sign-in, obtaining the Heavenly Tao level magical power Divine Punishment Thunder Sea, and completing the Alchemy Law. Lu Feng was stunned by the reward, but the next second, the laws of alchemy were swirling around him. Before long, the flower of law bloomed around him in full splendor. After absorbing the alchemy law, Lu Feng turned his attention to the other magical power, heavenly level magical powers. That was a rare treat. This magical power was practically the same as the magic of heaven. With powers like that at his fingertips, Lu Feng wouldn't even need to rely on the 8 desolate meteor saints formation and could go toe-to-toe with the saints. The thought made him buzz with excitement. It was so good. Lu Feng still had to put in the work to master these magical powers, the system couldn't just fill him in like it did with the laws. He had to rely on his own sweat and tears. Thankfully, he had Dao Hongliangfa to help him out, otherwise, all these innate magical powers would eventually get the better of him. With no looming threat from Hongjun, Lu Feng went back to his lazy routine, watering the flowers, soaking up the sun, living the dream. Nuwa, on the other hand, wasted no time moving her palace to Shouyang Mountain, to solidify her image as the leader of the human religion. Nuwa even renamed the Hua Palace to Shouyang Palace. After the move, she split the entire human religion area into two sections. One was for the human religion's activities, and the other for the human's habitat. The two didn't interfere much with each other, though there was some overlap. Lu Feng's place got a fancy plaque that read Hengwu Palace. Hongyun's place was renamed Hongxing Palace. Xuandu's place was the simplest of all, Danji Palace. And with that, the people's religion was ready to roll. It was just a name change, but Lu Feng never missed a day of his slack life. Nuwa gritted her teeth every time she caught Lu Feng slacking, but even she was unsure of her apprentice's true strength. Lu Feng had a trove of treasures. The 4 immortal swords and 6 purity bamboos she'd given him last time were enough to keep him alive in a pinch, not to mention the 36 Dinghai divine pearls, the immortal killing sword, the heaven-suppressing coffin, and a bunch of other goodies he already owned. Even with all that, Nuwa couldn't see any ambition in Lu Feng. He seemed even worse than when she'd first picked him up. Back then, Shao Qingnian practiced day and night, which made Nuwa proud. Now all he did was slack off. The weird thing was, his cultivation wasn't slipping. It just didn't make any sense to Nuwa.